It's Backstage Paths with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
Appeared out of the ether.
Crispian, how are you, my friend?
All right, not bad, thank you.
I'm spending some time with the new album. It comes out on January 30th. I read Worm Slayer, and man, I'm so glad you guys are continuing to put out this music. I was trying to peg your band, and it's kind of got this mix of Indian, 60s psychedelic, sprinkle of the Beatles, kind of 90s alternative. I mean, I can't really peg exactly where you guys fit in, if and maybe that's the purpose. You're trying not to fit into a lane, but tell me about your musical influences.
Well, I mean, we all, yeah, we started playing music together in the sort of early mid 90s, and we were at college. So yeah, we grew up with the Pixies, and that was indie music. And then, just as we were like getting old enough to smoke a joint, we the whole kind of acid house and baggy Manchester and all the bands that were sort of a bit absorbing the dance culture and the psychedelic culture. They were all kind of coming up, and it was starting to become a media story as well, which was quite funny. Bands and music and drugs were being in England. They were sort of fear mongering in the press, and it was kind of a good time for your music to be a little bit dangerous
Mhm.
and a little bit confrontational. But a lot of that was just hype. The reality was that music and the sort of underground partying scene had always gone together, and bands were just kind of absorbing the dance and the drugs and the music of the kind of retro thing. The Stone Roses, I think, were the band that really tipped everything towards a certain direction where it was honoring the 60s.
Mhm.
And obviously there was funk and dance and everything, but there was a really strong 60s influence that we all recognized because we were all retro kids. We were all into old music. We were into wearing old clothes and looking, like we were from another era.
Yeah.
And that was our thing. So for a while we were fashionable, or at least we kind of felt, we were in harmony, we were in sync.
Yeah.
And so when we were trying to get a deal, we were really into the classic rock sound of Santana and those Santana, Iron Butterfly and Deep Purple and bands with a big organ sound. So, that was kind of what one of the things that separated us from some of the sort of guitar bands. And then obviously we were really getting into the whole um, spiritual thing with Indian music, and we were really living in a very magical space, that you can only really fully embrace when you're that age as well,
Yeah.
because when the world has all possibilities open to it, it's an opportunity to live that life, and you can keep it going, you can sustain it for the rest of your life, but it opening that door is
Right.
kind of, it gets harder as you get older.
Yeah, I think when you're
So
younger, you're just a little more fearless. I mean, the whole world is open to you, and you don't know better, and so you jump at everything. Whatever's you're kind of whatever's pulling you, whatever direction. You don't even think twice. You just jump.
yeah, and life is full of infinite possibilities, and experiences. But you either feel that because you're young, or you are rebelling against
Mm.
people telling you that you have to be a certain way, and so it becomes you're doing it to be contrary. But we had all these influences which were really helping us to be our own original thing. And but for a long time it worked against us, and we weren't quite to Manchester enough, and we weren't, we weren't kind of too, we weren't serious enough, like the sort of Radiohead thing, and we weren't, um, wearing a kind of a class thing on our sleeve. But then, the right moment came, I don't know, I don't quite know what it was. It was definitely a combination of well wishes and the right music at the right time.
Yeah. You know, speaking of, 60s influences on your music in the new album, there's a song, there's the cover there behind me, song on there called Broke as Folk. And man,
Yeah.
that was exactly what I thought. I was like, man, this sounds like the best of all of the 60s music with this modern groove to it. Man, it's so good.
That came out of a jam. We were playing a song called Jerry Was There on stage, and we always give ourselves bits of the show where we just play and see what happens. And so we were playing Jerry Was There, and it turned into like a kind of a Doors groove, and everyone really enjoyed it, and it was a good moment in the show. And afterwards, we said, "Oh, we should do something with that. It sounds just like the Doors." And I said, yeah, well, not many bands can do that. Not many bands have got the setup to do it. We should go for it. Because one of the first audience that you have that you play to is really each other.
Mm.
And if you're all smiling, then it's a good sign. It's like people who write or they write comedy. If you're laughing, then it's probably a good chance someone else is going to as well.
Yeah. It's another, I was just listening to the album last night. There's another song on there called Good Money. It's this mid-tempo groove to it. Man, the new album the tracks that I've listened to are so good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, that one, we were working with, or we were playing. Sorry, I use the word work loosely.
Yeah.
We were playing with Johnny Kelsey, who's a really lovely old friend, and he's a dole drummer. He's a Punjabi dole drummer, and he'd done loads of gigs with us. And over the years, we'd always go back and play with him, and but we'd never recorded anything. So that was an opportunity to start with a groove and then build a song around a groove.
I'm gonna make you a star. We're gonna love you as you are. We're gonna make good money. You and me are gonna go far. We're gonna love you as you are. We're gonna make good money.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna hit the road in 26 and take this music out?
Yeah, we start in J January, at the end of January, and on and off. I think we're going to be playing all year.
Anything in the States or no?
I hope so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so. It's always like a big, it's an expedition to get over. And British bands, it's a whole thing. It's like going to the Antarctic. You got to
Yeah.
make sure the huskies are all packed and
Right.
you're not gonna, run out of petrol halfway.
Right. Do you I mean you've been doing this a minute. Do you still like hitting the road and being on stage, or you guys you really feel your groove in the studio now, or you mix of both, or where are you at right now?
We love playing. Yeah, I mean, we're a live band. First and foremost, we're a live band, and our whole musical career has been about trying to capture the live show on recordings. Most of the studio work we've done have always been scratching our heads trying to get that across. And I think we're just getting the hang of it now. But
Yeah.
the live show is where we feel most satisfied, and recording is a completely different life actually, and it is more like filmmaking. It is more like storytelling.
Yeah. When you guys are in the studio, do you record live? I mean, do y'all just start playing the song all together, or do you piece, some people just kind of piece it up. Do you guys record live?
Yeah, more and more we we
Hmm.
we play live. We've gone through different phases in our career where we've experimented with fully live and then, stripped down and then maybe two people playing and then,
Yeah.
then starting with acoustic backing tracks and then putting the drummers on that. And we've gone through so many combinations, and it often depends on the song or the type of record you're making, but more and more we've started with like a really great live performance, um, as much as possible without clicks, and we edit it so that we get the best performance.
Yeah. I had read, tell me if this is true, when you guys disbanded in '99 before you got back together, you had said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, but we self-destructed, we never fully hit our potential. Where, how do you feel now? Are you getting there?
Yeah, I mean, I think any band, at 50 is surprised to still be doing it, because you can't imagine being 30 when you start, let alone 50, and to be still playing together. But the biggest surprise has been that the band's got better and is exciting. And I don't know, I don't quite know what's going on, to be honest. But it part of it is that our relationships are all pretty good, and I think when you've sorted out a lot of your um all the complications, and you've been through a lot, and you've stayed together, there's a trust and an understanding that goes into the music, and there's still a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of reasons to play music, and I'm still inspired, and the whole band is.
Yeah. Well, that's unique. I mean, most friendships don't last that long, let alone, a band working together.
We're lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, we're blessed. I don't know how else to. There's no reason why we should be here, but we are, and we're grateful for it.
In '96, things kind of really took off for you guys with the KLP. And that LP is so deep. I mean, there's so many tracks. I was listening to it the other night, and I'm just taking mental notes and writing things down about, things I'm anticipating in our conversation. But I was just curious, when you look back on those projects, especially that album, do you have a go-to track on that album that you just it's like this was the one. This really came out just the way I hoped.
On K,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't satisfied with any of them on K.
Really?
No, I think the track that has always, has a sort of place in my heart is, perhaps Hollow Man Part
Mhm.
One. There's a that track takes me back to when we all lived together in the house, and there was a grand piano downstairs. We were all living together like the banana splits, and Alonso was writing that piece on the piano, and whenever we've played it, and we don't play it much,
Mm.
but whenever we have, it's immediately transported me back.
From the feeling I had to be sure, when you know that you've felt this before, it's a long road, long, lonely road. Yeah. It's a long road, long journey home.
But K is a record that we, even though it turned out to be seminal, and we're incredibly proud of it. It was the record that we struggled to capture our live show on that album, and we keep coming back to it. That was like the riddle, the beginning of the riddle of how do we get this band onto tape.
Yeah. Was that the recording of that, did you guys record that live or was that kind of piecemeal like we were talking about earlier? I mean, maybe was that a factor?
Yeah, it was quite a mix. It was a slightly problematic album. Like for instance, we had three versions of Tattva. We had our kind of our um, we had a demo that we loved and was much slower and trippier, and that had originally helped get us signed
Mhm.
to Columbia Records, and then we had the polished, faster version with John that we made with John Leckie, and we didn't like it as much, but it definitely felt like a posh, big record. And he did a brilliant job, but it didn't quite capture what we the way we played it live. And then we had the kind of remix version with the tablas and everything, which we also liked. So yeah, we were sort of still scratching our heads over that one, but it was also made up of B-sides.
Mm.
We had a B-side session that we went in and did, and a track called 303 ended up on the record. That was just going to be a B-side, and another track called Moonlight or Moonshine, that was going to be on the album, and that got turned into a B-side. So it was all over the place, but we ended up with a coherent album that felt like it, was authored.
Yeah.
And it
I love,
was, it just had a life of its own.
yeah. Hey Dude is on there. I love that track.
That
Do
was
you still
one.
do that live?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's one of those ones that you got to play it fast. You got to play it like you're 19. It's like a long sprint.
Yeah.
So you have to psych yourself up for that one.
Yeah. You know, over here in the States, I mean, when I told people, that we were going to have this conversation, of course, they say, "Oh, Hush, I love Hush," and that was, from the soundtrack of I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it was used in the Kingsman ads and stuff. But When you guys did your version of Hush, was that for, I guess I'm trying to figure out what inspired you to do that. Were you approached to do something for the soundtrack, or was that something you had in the can and trying to figure out what to do with it?
No, it wasn't really thought through. It was one of those songs. We had a few covers that we always kept in our back pocket. I always liked playing covers, and Hush was one of those tracks. Nobody played it. I couldn't think of anyone playing that song. I knew it because I was a Purple fan,
Mhm.
and we used to play it much faster than Deep Purple because we were 19 and we play it in a gig if the gig wasn't if the audience needed livening up,
Yeah.
if we need to jump in the front row and someone in the face, we'd play Hush. We'd really play it fast, and it would always go down well. And then I think we had to do some kind of special CD at the end of the year to try and sort of keep things going after K.
Yeah.
And so it was just a kind of it wasn't really thought through. It turned into a huge hit.
Yeah.
We weren't expecting it was a big hit in America.
Hush, hush, Lord, I heard you calling my name. Now hush, hush, you broke my heart and knocked me down. Now hush, hush, I thought I heard you call my name. Now hush, hush, you broke my heart and I'm not the dream now. Early in the morning, late in the evening, oh, gotta believe me, honey. Oh, never was a dream.
Yeah, I love that track. Matter of fact, over the weekend, I was driving down the road and I had radio on and it came on. And I thought, well, that's ironic.
There you go.
There's a song on Peasants, Pigs, and Astronauts called Mystical Machine Gun. And that the intro of that song always catches me. And I don't know, I wanted to ask you, is that a violin in the intro at the beginning? It's kind of it feels like a dream to me. That when it starts, it's like, man, this like it's like I'm falling into a dream. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
we were in a dream when we made that record. Yeah, it's the instrument is called a sarangi.
Okay.
Sarangi is a string. It's like if you can imagine a little miniature sitar with a skin a body and frets which you have to play with your nail
Mm.
and with resin on your fingers, and a bow like this. Very difficult lots of sympathetic strings, very difficult to tune. There's other stringed instruments like the esraj that people, that you could recognize from Indian music, but the sarangi is a uniquely impossible instrument to tune. And there wasn't many, we struggled to find one in England. But we did in the end, and he told us proudly that he'd played on the soundtrack to the movie Gandhi. And we had a great session recording him and also the Shanai player, which is like a sort of little folk instrument, like an oboe,
Mhm.
an Indian folk instrument, and that was recorded for Shall We Love. And
Oh, I
we
love that
recorded
track.
it in Studio 2 at Abbey Road, and we were in there for a while recording. So it was like a dream because we were in the holy temple of the Beatles and
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
our psychedelic opus.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Shower Your Love because, man, I love that track.
Shower your love on me. Don't make it so hard to cry. Oh, shower your love on me. You don't need a reason why.
Shower Your Love was recorded for Kay, and it was played much faster and sounded more like Stone Roses or the Lars or like Revolver Beatles. It was that
Mm.
kind of sound, and it was more upbeat. And the record company really uh, liked it and felt it was a hit, and were putting pressure. They said it has to go on the record, and because they were pressuring us, we thought, man, maybe we shouldn't. This is not a good sign. And the label manager said, if you put that song on there, you will, I promise you, you will sell 100,000 records. And it's kind of spooked us out because like the legacy of labels bullying bands. So we really dug our heels in and said, no, we're not putting the love song on, we're not going to do it. And we didn't, and the album, was like double platinum. So we felt vindicated, but we did go back to the song for the next record.
You guys, I had read you guys were in the States earlier this year, out with the Dandy Warhols.
Yep. We were out with them and they were out with us.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking a little bit about that tribal groove that you kind of, you kind of used throughout the career. There was a song it reminded me of called Infinite Sun. I can't remember what album it's on. It might be K2 point oh, but Infinite Sun, it's got that tribal groove that you don't hear a lot of it.
Well, not that many bands these days hang out with people in rainbow circles and that was one of the other things that influenced the band and made us kind of unique, is that we part of our apprenticeship as a band was playing in Glastonbury and at free festivals. There's not lots in England because of the weather, but in the summer, solstices and things like that, you do find the gathering of the hippie tribes, and it's a real crossover of spiritual stuff, alternative stuff, um, music, bands, and I heard that being chanted somewhere. Somebody was chanting that song, and then we would always break into it every now and again, and we turned it into our own tune.
Hey, I know I'm up against the clock. I promised a half hour, and I won't keep you too long. There's just two songs that were fairly current that I stumbled across that I hadn't heard yet, and I just wanted to bring them up to you because they're fairly new, and if people are watching and they haven't heard them yet, I wanted to go find them. But they're back in 23. I found two singles, and I don't know if they're on an album, but it was on a streamer, and I came across Waves. It's
Yeah,
this up-tempo rocker, and then Indian Record Player. Man, that song is so fast.
yes, it is fast. Yeah, well, so I think when we made Natural Magic, we were kind of, Jay had just kind of come back in the band after, his lost weekend with Oasis, and we were deciding to approach that record like we would have done with our first album. That the song, you got to imagine you're playing to audiences for the first time and you've got to win them over in 3 minutes, and so we did a lot of like that really tight, punchy songwriting. And Indian Record Player was actually written with Paul's brother and our old friend Simon Roberts. And they're in a two-piece band in Bristol called Bucky. So that was actually kind of from that side of the family.
Lucid Mohammed, Refi was the man. We spun the great Noshad.
But you
It's
got to
so
play it
fast. It's
fast.
so good. Yeah. Hey, if people want to follow you, keep up what's going on with you and the band, what's your best social medias? Where's the best place for them to follow you at?
Well, we use all the modern ways of staying in touch, smoke signals, ESP. So I'm sure we're on one of those unholy sites. You know, you can dial it up on the Tinternet.
Yeah. I'm assuming the usual, the Instagrams and what you have a website, right?
We have a website. Kula Shaker should pop up if you dial it into the Botanic online search engine.
Man, I'm right at the clock. I really appreciate you giving me some time. I know it's been kind of a project getting us to actually be able to connect and have this conversation, but I was so looking forward to it. I so love what you do, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
See you later. Bye.
All right.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.